roughly 90% of everything humanity knows about the universe, arrived through a single material. Not metal, not stone, not paper, glass. It sounds impossible. But trace the chain backward, and almost every great leap in human understanding passes through a piece of shaped, transparent sand. The story of how that happened is stranger and more dangerous than the calm, clear material on your table would ever suggest. Begin at the beginning with an accident. Glass is, at its heart, melted sand. Ancient peoples first encountered it as a natural substance, formed where lightning struck the desert, or where volcanic heat fused the earth. The first manufactured glass appeared thousands of years ago in the ancient world of Mesopotamia and Egypt. Long before recorded history grew detailed, it was prized, rare, and treated like a precious gemstone of its own. For most of its early life, glass was a luxury for the dead and the divine, buried in tombs and shaped into beads. Then the Romans made the first leap, and it set everything else in motion. Somewhere around 2,000 years ago, glassmakers discovered glassblowing. By gathering molten glass on the end of a hollow rod and breathing into it, a craftsman could shape a vessel in seconds that once took days. Suddenly, glass could be made quickly, thinly, and cheaply enough to enter ordinary life. Cups, bottles, jars, and eventually, windows all became possible for the first time. The luxury material was becoming a tool. That single technique was the first domino. Because once glass was common, people began to notice its strangest property. It let light pass through almost untouched, and that quiet fact would eventually crack open the entire universe. But progress is rarely a straight line. When the Roman world fractured, much of its glass-making knowledge scattered and faded in the West. The story did not end, it moved. The center of glass mastery shifted, and over the following centuries, it found a new home in a single, secretive place. That place was Venice. By the 13th century, Venetian glassmakers had become the finest in the world, and the city guarded them like a state treasure. The risk of fire from the furnaces was so great that the entire industry was moved to the island of Murano. But fire was not the only reason. On that island, the glassmakers could be watched. Their secrets could be contained. The danger in all of this was real and easy to forget. The furnaces that made glass burned ferociously hot, hot enough to level a city of timber, which is exactly why Venice exiled the trade to an island. Glassworkers labored beside molten material that could blind or kill in an instant. The clarity we now take for granted was bought with generations of heat, risk, and guarded knowledge. The calm, cool pane in your window is the descendant of a craft that was treated as both a treasure and a threat. The masters of Murano were treated as something between celebrities and prisoners. They were granted high status and could marry into noble families. But they were forbidden to leave. To carry the secrets of glassmaking abroad was treated as a betrayal of the state, and the penalties were severe. A craft had become so valuable that the men who held it were not entirely free. On Murano, they perfected something extraordinary. A glass so clear it resembled rock crystal, called cristallo. For the first time, humanity could make a sheet of glass that was almost perfectly transparent and free of color. It was beautiful, but its true power had nothing to do with beauty. Clear glass could be ground into precise curves, and a curved piece of clear glass bends light. Here, the dominoes begin to fall in a direction no glassmaker intended. The first to seize this were not scientists. They were the aging and the farsighted. Sometime in the late 13th century, in Italy, someone discovered that two small, curved pieces of glass held before the eyes could restore failing sight. Eyeglasses were born. For the first time in human history, A person whose vision faded with age did not simply lose the ability to read and work. They could buy more years of useful sight. Consider the consequence of that, because it is enormous and almost invisible. Before eyeglasses, a scholar or craftsman whose eyes weakened in their 40s was finished. Decades of accumulated skill and knowledge went dark. Glass changed that arithmetic. It extended the working life of the human mind by years, sometimes decades. The most experienced people in any field could keep contributing. The total amount of skilled human attention available to civilization quietly expanded. The timing of that change matters more than it first appears. Eyeglasses spread across Europe in the same centuries that the printed book was about to arrive. When the printing press began flooding the world with affordable books, it created millions of new readers. But reading is punishing on aging eyes, and small print type even more so. Glass was waiting to meet that need. The two inventions reinforced each other. More books created more readers. Weakening eyes created more demand for lenses, and better lenses created more readers still. A loop had formed, and it spun the spread of literacy faster than either invention could have managed alone. While that was happening in the workshops of Europe, the same property of curved glass was waiting to do something far larger. If two lenses could correct an eye, what could they do when combined and pointed outward? Around the start of the 17th century, spectacle makers in the Netherlands stumbled onto the answer. By placing two lenses in a tube, they found that distant objects leapt closer. The telescope had arrived, and in the hands of one man, it would shatter the way humanity understood its own place in existence. When an Italian named Galileo turned an improved telescope toward the night sky, he saw what no human eye had ever seen: mountains on the moon, moons orbiting Jupiter, the phases of Venus, countless stars hidden in the band of the Milky Way. Every single observation landed as a hammer blow against the ancient and unquestioned belief that the earth sat fixed and motionless at the center of all things. A few curved pieces of Venetian descended glass had begun to move the earth itself. There was another invention hiding inside clear glass, and it changed how people saw themselves, quite literally. By coating a sheet of flat, clear glass with a thin layer of metal, the Venetians perfected the modern mirror. Before this, most people lived their entire lives with only the vaguest sense of their own faces, glimpsed in polished metal or still water. The clear glass mirror gave ordinary people a sharp, honest reflection for the first time. It reshaped fashion, portraiture, and the very idea of the individual self. A material made to look through had become a material to look at yourself in, and the secret of making it was so coveted that rival nations schemed for years to steal it away from Venice. But the glass was not done. It turned its gaze in the opposite direction. If lenses could pull the distant heavens close, they could also magnify the impossibly small. In the same century, others built the first microscopes. A Dutch cloth merchant named Antony van Leeuwenhoek, grinding his own tiny, powerful lenses, looked into a drop of water and froze. It was teeming with life. Creatures too small for any eye to see, moving and multiplying by the thousands in a single drop. He had discovered a hidden world that had surrounded humanity for all of history, utterly unseen. There is a strange symmetry in this. The two instruments emerged within a few years of each other, built from the same curved glass, yet they pointed in opposite directions. One reached outward to the edge of the heavens. The other reached inward to the edge of life itself. Between them, they expanded the known world in both directions at once, and humanity suddenly found itself living in a universe far vaster and far more crowded than anyone had ever suspected. This is the moment the chain reaction becomes unstoppable. Through the glass, humanity discovered microorganisms. That discovery, pursued over centuries, eventually led to the understanding that invisible organisms cause disease. The germ theory of illness, one of the most important ideas in all of medicine, depended entirely on the ability to see what was previously invisible. Glass made the invisible visible, and in doing so, it would go on to save more lives than any weapon ever ended. While glass was opening the heavens and the microscopic world, it was also quietly rebuilding ordinary life. Think of the window. For most of history, a home was a choice between light and shelter. An opening in the wall let in sun and air, but also cold, rain, and danger. Clear window glass dissolved that ancient compromise. Light could enter while the weather stayed out. Homes grew brighter. Work could continue indoors through long, dark seasons. Entire styles of architecture, with soaring walls of colored glass in great cathedrals, became possible only because humanity had learned to tame melted sand. Now follow the chain into the modern age, because it accelerates beyond anything the Murano masters could have dreamed. The lens that revealed germs evolved into the laboratory instrument. Glass beakers, test tubes, and flasks became the basic tools of chemistry, because glass could hold violent reactions while letting the chemist watch them unfold. Nearly every chemical discovery of the modern era happened inside a glass vessel. The material was no longer just helping us see the world. It was the stage on which we took the world apart. Then glass learned to carry our voices and our images. Scientists discovered that an extremely pure strand of glass could trap light inside it and guide it over enormous distances. This is the optical fiber. Today, vast networks of glass thread, thinner than a human hair, run beneath the oceans and across the continents. The message you send across the planet in an instant travels most of its journey as a pulse of light inside a fiber of glass. The same material that let Galileo see Jupiter now carries nearly the entire conversation of the human species. And here is the final, unexpected consequence, the one no one at the start could have predicted. You are almost certainly looking at glass right now. The screen in your hand, the screen on your desk, the lens of the camera that records your life, the window through which you experience modern existence is, once again, nothing more than a thin sheet of carefully shaped sand. We did not escape glass as we grew advanced. We wrapped ourselves in it more completely than ever before. Step back and see the whole chain at once. An accident in the desert became a Roman craft. A Roman craft became a Venetian secret. A Venetian secret became a pair of spectacles. Spectacles became a telescope and a microscope. Those instruments revealed the cosmos and the cell. That knowledge built modern science, modern medicine, and the global network of light that now binds the planet together. Almost nothing we know about reality, from the largest galaxy to the smallest microbe, reached us except through glass. It is the most important material humanity has ever made, and it is so common, so clear, and so silent that we have stopped seeing it at all. We look straight through it constantly, every single day. We rarely stop to look at it. The next time light passes through a window or a lens or a screen in front of you, take a moment to truly notice the material doing the work, and consider staying with us as we keep uncovering the hidden histories of the ordinary things that built the world.